So welcome, and thank you all for joining us for this Q&A for the film Jackie Oopjen. It is my great pleasure to welcome two wonderful guests calling in from Rome, director Annemarie van der Mond, and calling in from Amsterdam, one of our stars, Sarah Bannier. Did I say that right, Bannier or Bannier?
It's Bannier, yeah, actually.
Yeah, a little more French. Thank you both so much for being with us, and thank you for this really fun film. Can we just start off by maybe if you could each talk a little bit about how you got connected with the film and came on board to work on this particular project?
Yeah, Annemarie can start.
I will start. Well, I got connected because the writer of the movie, Miranda Jongeling, she is a very good friend of mine and a great writer. And she actually has this incredible fascination for the fact that when you walk in a museum and then you look at the paintings and then all of a sudden you think that the eyes are following you. Because it is like that, you know, when you look at a painting, it feels like everywhere you go, the painting is watching you. And that's sort of how the whole idea started of this movie. So, and I got involved very early, in a very early stage, when the movie was only a few lines on paper, etc. So that's, if that answers your question.
Yeah, well, and I'm just curious then, did you work with her in developing the script as she was building it, or is that something that she, you know, once you were on board and you knew you wanted to work on the project, that she went and wrote and then brought back to you?
I was involved during the whole way, but she is the one who wrote it. But I had, of course, the stages in between when I read it, and then we talked about it together. So yeah, I was involved all the way for quite a few years. That's how it works with movie making. Right. Nothing fast.
That's true. And Sarah?
Yeah, for me it's a lot shorter. I got involved by my audition. I did 2 castings for this movie, and then Annemarie told me that I got the part, and I was very happy. And then, yeah, we did some rehearsals and then shot the movie, and yeah, that was it.
So it was pretty straightforward for you.
Yeah.
So have either of you worked in children's films before, or in comedies like this?
Well, I started in a family movie when I was a child. So that's where it all started for me. When I was 9 years old, I was in the movie Minus.
Oh yeah, we showed Minus. That was years ago.
Yeah.
When I children's films at the Mill Valley Film Festival, we showed it. I love that film.
Yeah.
That was you.
Yeah. Yeah. I was. Yeah, thank you. I was a small child, and that was my first. My work as an actress, and from that moment I thought, okay, this is what I want to do. So and I do a lot of youth theater, so I'm in many youth things and children's series and stuff.
And Annemarie, how about you? Have you done children's films before this?
No, it's my first children's movie, and I really liked it, I have to say, although I also have to say that I didn't really treat it differently than I would treat any movie. You know, just try to tell your story as good as possible. But I like comedy very much. So I do quite a lot of comedies, or I wouldn't call them comedies, but they're sort of painful comedies. Let's put it like that. So.
Sounds great. Yeah, painful comedies.
Well, and I really appreciate that. You know, yes, there shouldn't. You know, it's interesting. I think particularly in American film that there's this distinction between children's film and other film, and somehow they are separate. Whereas, like you said, they are one and the same, and they should be treated the same. And probably the only difference is, you know, dealing with the age of the actors and their number of hours that they can be on screen, and you know, from everything.
Yeah, that's something. Yeah.
Yeah. But you know, the professionalism and the story, you know, it's all the same, and it's just so great to see so many children's films like yours that respect that and treat film as one. So we're also, you know, we're showing this film at the festival to families and to children, and we're also including it in our education program. So there, you know, are a lot of students that'll be watching the film as well. Can you maybe explain for American students the importance of the Rijksmuseum and of Rembrandt in the world of classical art? how, and maybe a little bit how unusual it is for a young girl to have that kind of access to that museum? Because that's one of the things I think is so fun about this film, having been to the Rijksmuseum, but I don't know that, all Americans are as familiar with it.
Who are you asking?
Oh, yeah.
Either. If either of you have a thought on that, or maybe, Annemarie, if you want to start just, of choosing to have the film in that very particular museum, which is so significant for Amsterdam, but kind of where the Rijksmuseum kind of is in the context of other museums that Americans might be familiar with, and the reference to the Night Watch, that famous painting that's in there, and where the famous paintings of Oopjen and Martin, where those kind of fit in within the Amsterdam, within the Dutch art world, and where they are in the international art world.
Well, I have to say that when we started to shoot the movie, of course, I've been in the Rijksmuseum quite a few times, always with many, many, many visitors. And all of a sudden, we were allowed to be there among ourselves, all alone, without tourists. And I have to say that was a very, very special experience. I don't think, it was like you were standing there in front of this immense work, all alone, quiet. And it was, it's something I will never, ever forget anymore in my life. And I felt very special that we were allowed to shoot there also. Yeah, and I think, Sarah, you're saying, Yeah,
that was so special, that empty room with all those paintings. Yeah. And there was one moment, because I was wearing the whole Oopjen dress, and it was at our first or second day or something, and the whole museum was empty. And I was walking by myself, or maybe with one other person, through a hall. And above the entrance, there's like a window, and there's the street of Amsterdam. And there was one man with his bike. He was locking his bike. And he watched downstairs, and he saw me in that costume walking through that empty museum. And he just was in shock. He stopped. And he just looked at me, and I looked back, and it was like, what is he thinking? It was really like Oopjen was alive, and sleepwalking through.
It was like he was a moment in that film.
It was so funny. Yeah.
That's really cool. And so how was it challenging to get permission to shoot in the museum, knowing how unusual it is for it to be closed for that kind of purpose?
Was challenging because I have a lot of restrictions, obviously, because the paintings are millions and millions. So yes, but they were very cooperative, I have to say. It was they were really the very nice people who guided, and we always had to be present. So when Sarah said I was walking, I don't know, maybe alone, maybe there was one person. There was one person, because we were not allowed at all to go by ourselves and wander around in the museum. There always had to be someone of the museum present.
I made it more beautiful in my own head, like I was alone in the museum. But it felt like that. Yeah.
You felt like you were alone, for sure.
Yeah.
And
but it was, yeah.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, actually, I already said it. They were very nice and helpful. So it was wonderful.
Yeah.
And I just love how this combines, this family film with real art history. Was that, I know you talked a little bit about the writer's initial inspiration for the idea, but was that always kind of her hope to kind of build that in so that you had that kind of in the background? Because it's just so great to have that kind of foundation of the real art and the art history that's part of this girl's world, and that, feels very natural for that to be part of any young person's world. Was that kind of always her intention, and was that something that you kind of wanted to make sure that was in the foreground of the story?
Well, of course, that is in the foreground of the story, but for me, it's also a story about friendship and about, looking at each other, taking care of each other, about family, so it's about a lot more than only painting. So, and one of the things that I really tried to let come out, and also for the children, because I think in today's world, culture and paintings and art and in all forms they feel like that they're getting underestimated more and more and more. And I think it's so important for any person on this earth to cherish and to to look at art, to be amongst culture, etc. So what I've been trying to do is to show how arts, how Rembrandt, how Oopjen infects, or even people after 400 years, still connects with people nowadays. And that's also something, and more than only as a painting. So it also touches your heart, and it touches your being. So that also I tried to keep in mind. But of course it's a children's movie, so these layers hopefully sort of hide behind the detective story that it also is, because they are trying to look for Oopjen's sister.
Right. And is that painting, that's also a real painting, correct? The sister's painting?
Sorry?
So the younger sister's painting, that's also a real, is that a real painting as well, or was that fabricated for the story?
That was fabricated for the story.
Yeah. And it's now in the kitchen of Frauke, who plays Jackie. I saw it.
That's so great. So how did you cast your young actors? Had they acted in films before?
No, actually we was getting close to shooting, and we still didn't have an actress, and I was getting quite desperate, to be honest. And then all of a sudden Madelief, the casting director, called me and said, I think I have her. And then she sent me the pictures, and by the looks of it, she was the perfect Jackie. So then we were like, fingers crossed that she can act, fingers crossed that she can act. And she was great. From the first moment on, I was like, yes, this is her. So, yeah. And also because I think you already casted, weren't you? Yes.
Yes.
Because you did the audition together with,
Yes.
you did the audition together with Jackie. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And they connected so well, Sarah and Frauke. So it was a done deal after that.
Yeah, for me too. Yeah.
Sarah, I was going to ask how it was for you working closely with her, and also the younger sister, and in that dynamic of working so closely with them on all of those scenes.
Yeah, well, it just how do you say it? It clickte?
It clicked. Yep.
It clicked. Oh yeah, it's almost the same. Okay. It really clicked. So we became friends immediately. So that really worked, and we have the same humor, so that's nice as well. And it was just great, and I saw that she can really, really act at the audition. So I was also like, you have to cast Frauke. You have to cast Frauke, because I really, really like her. And yeah, she really played. She was not afraid to act full in the moment, and just do everything full, not ashamed or something. So I found that really
skillful.
Yeah. And the little girl, very good. The little girl, Sarah, was awesome as well. Yeah.
She was adorable. She was great.
Yeah.
You guys had a really great dynamic going on, and you really did like that whole sort of like BFF montage where you guys go out for the day, and around Amsterdam. It was just so fun. Just really you guys were having a blast. It
really felt like we are BFF, so that was cool.
Yeah. So I'm curious, Sarah, what was it like for you to shoot the entire film in that heavy costume?
So that was warm.
Do you have a minute?
It was a lot. It was a lot. It was warm. It was a bit heavy. And but it gave me so much. It gave so much for the character. So it was so much. You really had to pick the dress up if you wanted to run or walk. And then the sluier, the black thing, just got in front of my eyes, and then it was like this, and then that became Oopjen. So it really helped for me to build that character. But it was warm.
It felt like it was sort of part of your physical comedy that helped enable the physical elements of how you got into the physical comedy of the role.
Yeah. It really helped. Yeah, that was great.
And it had those pockets. I mean, imagine having not kids to be able to carry your lunch around with you.
Yeah, all those beers and everything.
And it's so a lot of other time travel movies, you know, they often make the character change into more modern clothing. And it was interesting that, you know, I know obviously there were elements of the storyline that made it necessary to keep her there, but I'm just wondering if there was ever a temptation to put Oopjen, you know, to have that scene where she's put into modern clothes or they go shopping for modern clothes rather than keeping her herself the whole time.
No, I think that Annemarie really wanted to just have that Oopjen costume the whole movie, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Oopjen was Oopjen. And I think if we would have put her in modern clothes, it would have become completely different. When she had to hide, when she went to the auction, I also decided that she was, you know, just putting something over it and a hat on, you know, with her Oopjen clothes. So for me, it was very important that she stayed Oopjen all the time. Because in that sense, she also is like a cartoon character almost, you know, so it was a pity to disturb that for me.
And Sarah, was that also a wig that you had to wear, or was that did not look like your original hair?
It was my original hair.
Wow.
Well, this part.
No.
This is still, how do you call it? This was painted?
Highlighted.
Yeah.
Or
Highlight, yeah. So this was my own hair, and that got curled every day.
Wow.
And then from here on, there was a wig to the back. So it was a mix of both.
Mm. Yeah, that just adds one more layer on, like you said.
Yeah.
Yeah. Annemarie, you talked a little bit about how you've worked in comedy before. Is it difficult to direct that kind of comedy and get the timing right, like particularly the physical comedy elements? Like, are there special things that, you know, just as far as you know, directing style or technique or way to make sure that people are kind of hit their timing right?
Yes and no. Actually, when I'm directing comedy, I'm not so much thinking of it should be comedy. I'm just trying to, maybe it sounds maybe silly, but I really try to create genuine emotions. And I think the situations should make it funny. And also you have the whole trajectory of editing. So, you know, if timing is a little bit off, you can easily correct it in editing. I love to do comedies also because the atmosphere on the set is so nice when you do a comedy. It's so fun and light, and it's a very nice shooting period, the comedy, apart from the fact that I love to laugh. So it's easy to make me laugh also. That's nice. So and Sarah is a great comedian. I don't know if that was because she has this really nice physical comedy on her. So she really has a physical kind of comedy that you don't see very often because it's a very specific way of acting. And there's not a lot of people that are able to do that. So I was very happy with Sarah for that. It was a very nice direction for Oopjen. Because of course, Oopjen you could make in many, many ways. You could make a very dramatic, or, you know, who knows who is Oopjen? Oopjen doesn't exist. But it was very nice. I think it was a very good choice to go that direction of the comedy.
Yeah, no, I would agree. Just also because, you know, you expect some like that type of character to walk out of a painting and, you know, and from that era, and then normally you would expect them to be very, you know, staid and aristocratic and very serious, you know, and just the way she sort of immediately turns into this really lovely, you know, you just look like you were having so much fun, Sarah, too. And just, yeah, it really embodied.
I was.
Yeah, it looked like a blast.
Yes, I was.
And speaking of other fun scenes, if you could talk maybe a little bit how you shot and choreographed the crowd dance scene. It looked partly improvised. Were those all professional dancers, or did you also have, because there were young kids in there, and it just looked like it looked very organic. Can you talk a little bit about how that came together?
We were there dancing, and then all of a sudden everybody joined. No, I had a wonderful choreograph, Nicola, and she actually we sort of worked on it together because I wanted it to look, of course, it was spontaneous. And it should be easy, but in the same time it should be a dance. So because I love actually flash mobs and things like that. So and then we sort of worked on it together, also with Vrouwtje and Sarah. And they are very good dancers. Vrouwtje, who plays Jackie, also did a dancing education for a few years. So they picked it up, like in 5 minutes. So, and then we had dancers. So the first group that joins, they are dancers. So, but they did very well, didn't they?
They did. It looked great. But it looked like it, and like I said, sort of authentic enough that they were they didn't just immediately snap into form. Like they kind of gradually were like looking and seeing what they were doing. And then, they kind of gradually picked it up until it became a whole thing. Yeah, it looked really, again.
Yeah.
And
nice.
Sarah, how was it dancing in that dress?
Good question.
The rehearsal of the dance was in my jeans or in my Adidas pants. But then I got that dress and I was like, I wanted to do woo and everything, but I had the dress and I had to pick it up with one hand, so it was a bit difficult, but that made it fun as well. So that, yeah,
you pulled it off.
Yeah, I pulled it up and it was a lot again, but I liked it.
Great.
Yeah, and there were a lot of children or friends of Frauke and nieces of cast people and everything. So it was a very cool day, because it was in the morning at Dam Square and there was no one. When we started there was nobody, and I had never seen that Dam Square before, totally empty, and yeah, it was a very special day.
Is that a pretty main square or plaza in Amsterdam that's normally pretty full?
Yeah, it's I think the most famous square in Amsterdam. So there are a lot of people every day. And this was the first time I saw it, fully empty. So that was really cool.
Yeah, you guys got some great experiences in the city.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about the cat. My experience with cats is they rarely do or what you want or what you ask them to. So I'm wondering how hard it was working with the cat in the film. And obviously, Sarah, you've had experience working with cats with, well, I know we didn't have a ton of scenes, but they were pretty important scenes. I'm wondering if, how was the cat?
The cat is like an actor. It's an acting cat. And his name is Abatutu. Abatutu. And he has a coach. So, he was good.
Did you have any issues, Annemarie, managing the cat?
I think I've never, because they asked me, of course, what kind of cat do you want? And I said, I don't mind, as long as the cat likes to be on set, because I have a lot of bad experiences with cats who are, a cat is very difficult to control. Exactly. So my only demand was, it has to be a cat that likes to be on a set. And, if it's red or black I really don't mind. And then we got this cat who was actually playing a main part in a very nice documentary about Amsterdam, where he's walking on the streets alone. It was really it's a very incredible cat, actually, who was staying on the set all the time, sleeping on the table and on the bed on the set, and it was a very good cat. So, yeah.
He looked very cozy when that scene when you're on the stage holding Terry.
He was big and fluffy.
Yeah. He kind of fit right into your big dress.
Yeah.
So there's a few things obviously in the film that are specific or unique to Amsterdam or more European that aren't as familiar to some of our younger American viewers. So I'm wondering if you could explain what Oopjen pours on her sandwiches that she's so excited about. That we can really eat here, and some kids might not be familiar with what that might be.
Yeah, it's called gestampte muisjes.
It means crushed mice.
Mice, yeah.
Which sounds horrible. So it's really not crushed mice.
No, it's not. It's like, sugar, a lot of sugar in it. And it melts on your tongue.
Wow.
We had a rehearsal where we had to try if it's okay to just throw it into your mouth, or do you have to cough or something? So that was a serious rehearsal with the gestampte muisjes, but it worked.
And that's very common in in the Netherlands to put that on bread and put it on your sandwiches. Usually, but
yeah.
And there's also a lot more bicycles used in this film than you see in cities here in the U.S. Can you talk a little bit about how people use bikes in Amsterdam and how you wanted to incorporate that into the film, or if it was just obvious because that's just what the cityscape looks like?
Yeah, when you live in Amsterdam, you have a bike. When you live in Holland, you have a bike. There's no one without a bike. So for it is actually, apart from the fact that, of course, Oopje is not able to ride a bike, that was funny that we used, but we didn't think twice about not using the bike because all the children go to school on the bike. We only use bikes. We use very little a lot less cars than you're used to in America, I think.
Yes, for sure. I do wish we had that same experience, but we don't. So that's why it feels so different to see it on screen. For the mother also to be like, oh, I have to get to the museum and just hop on her bike and head over. It feels very different for us, and it's great to see because it just looks so civilized, so logical.
Yeah.
So of course, I live in the San Francisco Bay Area, so it's actually not quite so simple because of hills. So there are some reasons sometimes.
Yeah.
And the distance, right?
Of course.
And things are a lot further apart. That's the other thing. A lot of our cities are very, very large.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
navigate, but still, it's just great to see how the city. You could see so much in the film of how the city is set up to support that too. That's one of the things that makes it so easy. That here it's not really set up that way. So riding everywhere on your bike, it's sometimes it's very dangerous, particularly for young people.
Yeah.
So along those lines, we're so thrilled that we're presenting the North American and U.S. premiere of the film at the Mill Valley Film Festival. So we're very excited about that. Are there other things that you'd like American kids or audiences to learn or take away from the film? From knowing that it's the first American audience that's getting a chance to see it.
I'm just so curious. What
I
the people,
wish
the children,
I could.
Yeah. I hope they're really gonna like it. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I wish I could be a fly on the wall. I so much hope. I can't wait to be in a movie theater with a lot of children and hear them laugh. That would make my day. I really, So it's a kind of a pity because everything is online this year, isn't it?
Well, we are doing a handful of drive-ins, but yeah, almost all of our films are going to be online, and all of our family films are. I know it's a little heartbreaking for us too, particularly when we do our school programs, and same thing. We'd all be in the theater, we'd having these conversations with kids, and I'm doing my best to replicate some of the questions they might ask, but I can't possibly. So, hopefully we can do it another time in the future for that. But hopefully, and when you say that that it's also part of the education program, what does that mean? So we have an education program where we offer many of our films to schools for free to watch. And then normally we would do those in the theater, and we would have the kids come to the theater and we would do this type of Q&A on stage. So we're now offering them all online to our schools. And so they're going to be watching them online, and then they'll be watching this Q&A afterwards, either in their classrooms or as part of their distance learning online. And if you guys are interested and available, we have a Filmmakers Go to School program where we do live conversations like this with smaller groups of students that we could set up sometime if it's doable during the course of the festival. So it's basically just a way for us to share the films that we have and our filmmaker guests with students. And we provide also some curriculum resources to support that so that they can basically, talk about the film and about filmmaking in general into their class curriculum.
I would love to, if I have time, I would love to do it together with Sarah.
Of course.
It would be nice.
Okay.
We'll see.
It would be nice.
That would be wonderful. So just a couple of last questions, and maybe if you can talk a little bit about, well, we talked a little bit about how long you have been making films, maybe Annemarie, some of the other type of films you've made, and maybe a little bit about what you're working on now.
Well, it is actually my first real feature movie, because I did 3 other movies, but they were for TV. They were specially made for TV. They sort of existed also in cinema, but very briefly. They were made for TV. And there were all 3 comedies, painful comedies. And and at the moment, I'm doing a TV series. I'm finishing actually 3 episodes of a TV series. But of course, like I think everywhere around the world, I had a very bad year because a lot of projects were cancelled in the beginning of the year because of the lockdown and everything. So, yeah. And I'm working on 2. Sorry.
I was just wondering if are you able to kind of get back on track now? It sounds like you're starting to get back into production a little bit.
Yeah. Now I'm finishing this up, and I'm working on 2 other feature movies that hopefully will be shot in the future. Like I said, it takes a lot of years to to get everything going. So, but yeah.
And Sarah, what are you working on now?
I'm not working on something it's all small projects. So 1 day of filming there and 1 day of filming there. I do a lot of voice acting or voiceover work. I played in a theater play, but that was cancelled. We were going to play in New York for 2 weeks, but that was cancelled because of the COVID-19. And now in 2 or 3 weeks, I'm starting a TV series. And I don't know what the future will bring after that. I don't know yet.
Nobody knows anything anymore what the future will be.
No.
One step at a time. Yeah. Well, I want to thank you both so much for your time. It's been really great talking to you both. I appreciate you, making the film and be sharing with us and taking the time to talk about it. It's been really fun. And we look forward to everyone getting a chance to see it. So yeah. Thank you for being with us. Good luck with whatever you're working on next.
Thank you. Also, thank you very much for inviting us. I feel very honored that we are shown at the Mill Valley Film Festival. So yeah. I'm very honored about that. So thank you very much.
Yeah, me too. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Take care, you guys.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.